Hello and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host Owen, the channel that brings you your team every single day, brings you your daily Rangers news fix. Thank you for all the support recently. It's blown both me and Victoria away. It's absolutely amazing. If you want to join the channel, you can do for as little as 99p. The join button is down below. But preferably, guys, just subscribe. Subscribe to the channel for all your Rangers news updates, live streams, podcasts, all that content, all for free. Well, we've got a few things to talk about in this morning's video, this afternoon's video, this evening's video, depending on when, of course, you are watching this video. Abdallah Sima has signed. It's our fifth summer signing done and dusted. Former Rangers player Ronald Deboer has been having his say on Sam Lammers, someone he obviously has some knowledge of from the Dutch game, and it's not all positive, let me tell you that. A little bit of news also about Ryan Kent, who has finally issued a farewell message to Rangers fans after reports earlier in this summer that some Rangers fans were a bit put out by the fact that Kent hadn't obviously thanked the club for all that they'd done for him in his career. Anyway, let's obviously start off with the biggest news from yesterday, and that was that Abdallah Sima completed his loan move to Rangers. Obviously, I'm not going to spend ages on this. There was a video that I released the other day detailing what sort of player Rangers are getting in Abdallah Sima, so go back and check that out on the channel. Now, Sima has 2 years remaining on his Brighton contract, but obviously completed his loan move to Rangers on Thursday. Upon joining Rangers, Sima said, "Rangers is a big club with a big history. I played here for Slavia Prague 2 or 3 years ago. When I came here, I liked it. So for me, it's very exciting to join Rangers. I spoke with Michael Beale and it was a very natural conversation. He told me about Rangers and about how we will be playing. I already knew a bit about how Rangers play, so when they called me, I was very honoured." So, you know, it's clear that the boy wants to be here, that he wants to take the opportunity, and that he wants to play for the club. And do you know what? That's one of the biggest things for me. All these names that have been linked and these deals that seem to drag on, you know, the Dessers deal that seems to be constantly dragging on at this moment in time. One thing that we need more than anything is players that actually want to play for the club, players that actually want to be at Rangers, players that want to fight for the jersey, players that want to go out there and always give their best. That's what we want. We don't want mercenaries. We don't want people here just for a paycheck. We want people who want to be at the club. Listening to what Abdallah Sima has to say, it does seem like he wants to be here. Like I said, if you want to know what type of player he is, go back and check out the video from the other day that I did on him, detailing all his stats and looking beyond the just goals and assists stat. Looking at how obviously he actually ranks in a number of categories behind only Kylian Mbappe and Lionel Messi in France, which is pretty high company. Michael Beale had this to say about the signing of Abdallah Sima. He says, "We are delighted to have Abdallah join us for the forthcoming season. He is a player I am excited to work with. He has excellent variety in his game and can fulfill a number of attacking positions in our team." And again, that's one of the key things about Sima is the fact that he is flexible. He's a hybrid player. Like an awful lot of players that Michael Beale has signed this summer, players that can play in multiple positions, players that can go out there and do multiple jobs. And that is quite clear that what Beale is looking for in this transfer window. And in Abdallah Sima, he does seem to have that player. Now, obviously, it doesn't look like it's a loan to buy. If he does well, you know, we don't know what Brighton will ask for him if Rangers want to sign him on a permanent basis at the end of this season. But we've got to look at it like this, in my opinion. Look at it like this. He comes in, he's a loan player. He does great for a year. His goals help us get into the Champions League. His goals help us to get into the Europa League. His goals help us to win 56. His goals help us to win one of the cups. He goes at the end of the season with our thanks. Well, you know what? He's helped contribute to silverware. He's helped bring in extra money, you know, in terms of that Champions League run. He's helped bring extra money because of the Europa League. He's helped bring in extra revenue. For me, it's a no-brainer. You know, yes, we are developing someone else's player, but we are still getting a side benefit from that. And that money we may raise from that Champions League run, you know, and getting into the Champions League group stage could be money that we use to put towards his replacement. So, look, it swings and roundabouts, and in my opinion, it's all positive, this loan deal for Abdallah Sima. Now, the first striker to join Rangers this summer was this man here, Sam Lammers. Now, when Sam Lammers joined the club, there were a few doubts about him, from the fans, given his poor season in Serie A. But fans, I think, kind of were willing to excuse that. He showed good form at PSV. He showed good form in Holland. I think it was with Herenveen. He did well there. But at the end of the day, there are still a few doubts over Sam Lammers. And former Rangers player who obviously, was made 129 appearances, scoring 40 goals for our club, won the Scottish Premier League in 02-03, won the Scottish Cup twice, the League Cup once, someone who actually contributed to the success of this team. Ronald Deboer has been having his say about Sam Lammers, someone he has some knowledge of. Now, Ronald Deboer has said he would not wager that Sam Lammers is going to be successful at Ibrox, and he has some reservations about the player. The 26-year-old, as Lammers this is, spent obviously the first half of last season on loan at Empoli and the second half with Sampdoria, but only managed 2 goals throughout the entire campaign. But, we've got to sort of excuse him that. 2 very poor teams, 2 awful teams that perhaps didn't use him in the right way, and Michael Beale, I think, has a different plan for him. Now, we all know that Michael Beale wants to rejig the forward line. He's trying to do that. He's bringing in players, Sima, Lammers, maybe Danilo. Unfortunately, we're still after Dessers, etc., etc. But, Deboer has talked about Lammers and talked about how he was considered one of the brightest talents at PSV Eindhoven during his youth career and his academy days. However, he's kind of not seen that promise sort of materialise since, when Sam Lammers left the youth side setup and entered kind of like full professional football for PSV, and obviously then into Italy for Atalanta, Empoli and Sampdoria. This is what Ronald Deboer had to say when he was talking to the Daily Record. He said, Sam was one of the biggest talents at PSV Eindhoven, and he has a lot of quality. He has the potential, but I wouldn't put money on it. That's him being a success. With him, I still have a bit of doubt. Now, it's from this comment, it's interesting to see that he talks about Lammers having skill, having potential, having the ability to be a great footballer, but seemingly not able to live up to that billing. Ronald Deboer, who obviously was a very talented footballer, has managed at the highest level, is someone who can spot a good player. It's worrying that he is having doubts over Sam Lammers and Sam Lammers' ability to live up to the potential that he's got. And he's kind of said that Lammers hasn't ever lived up to that potential, has never kind of, become the player that I think a lot of people thought he was going to be when he came through the youth system at PSV Eindhoven. It is slightly worrying, obviously, given the fact that Rangers have signed him with an heir, obviously, to being one of the new centre forwards at the club. Deboer is a player with vast experience. So, when players like this talk, you need to listen to them. And he's certainly someone who has a good knowledge of Sam Lammers. So, I think we've got to hope that Lammers can come out and prove all these doubters wrong, and he can obviously prove that Michael Beale was right to spend the money on him. That's obviously something we've really got to kind of hope is going to happen. But who knows? Any signing that's made is a risk. You pay money for a player. It's a risk. It's always a risk for me. Even the most experienced, most talented players who've been successes in other countries can come in and be a disaster. In when they move to a new country, there's a lot of factors to take into consideration. Style of football, moving away from something they're used to. Lots of things that you need to take into account. So, obviously, we have to hope that Sam Lammers can overcome the struggles that he had in Italy and certainly put them right with Rangers this coming season. Now, here's a blast from the past, well, kind of slight past. Ryan Kent. Now, I know a lot of Rangers fans were glad to see Ryan leave at the end of his deal after what was a pretty poor season for Ryan. Some people even feeling that since the 55 title winning season, he has not been up to his regular standards, although during the Europa League run he was particularly outstanding, especially that Dortmund game when he absolutely ripped Dortmund to shreds. But Ryan Kent has had a lot of criticism since he left Rangers, or when he was in the process of leaving Rangers. Number one, for how he dressed for that final home game against Hearts, looking like he was off to a skateboard park or off to rob a granny or something like that. And then seemingly not issuing any statement to Rangers and Rangers fans for thanking them for, that is kind of, look, I know it's kind of I don't know, no player has to do that. It's not part of a contractual obligation, but it seems that it's kind of like the done thing these days, that, that when you leave a club, that you post thanks to the fans, you post thanks to the club. Finally, Ryan Kent has come out and done this on his Instagram. This is what he said. He said, "Thank you to all the Rangers fans. My time at Ibrox is something I will remember for the rest of my life. As a Liverpool Academy player, I followed Stephen and Mick on loan, but that soon became 5 years as I immediately fell in love with the club, fans, and have made some memories that I will look back on with great happiness. As a kid, it's a dream to play in European competitions, win leagues and cups, but to do that in front of the Ibrox crowds is something else entirely. It's a privilege. And to all my teammates, management team and backroom staff, past and present, thank you for everything, and I'll miss you all. Now it's time for me to begin a new chapter." Let's just quickly get that come back up. "In my footballing career, continue my footballing journey as a player elsewhere, but I will forever carry Rangers in my heart. I look forward to cheering you on to success in the SPL next season. Simply the best." It's nice that Ryan has finally come out and thanked the fans, thanked the backroom staff, thanked the players that he's been involved with, and spoke very highly of Rangers, and that's very positive. And obviously, thank you, Ryan, for doing that. Perhaps slightly redeeming himself, hopefully in the eyes of some fans that had previously criticised him for his kind of lack of care towards the club. Some things that really stood out for me in that quote, from Ryan Kent when he spoke about that, it was the fact that he talked about the fact that he followed Michael Beale and he followed Steven Gerrard. They were a huge pull for him to come to the club, and Michael Beale continues to be at this club and pulling players towards the club. The other thing that kind of stood out for me as well is the fact that he talked about the fact that it's a privilege to play for Rangers. It's a privilege to play at Ibrox. It's a privilege to play in front of the Rangers fans. And I think that's something that a lot of players who, all these new players that are coming to the club, they kind of need to get their heads around fairly quickly, that it is a privilege. It is, something that we as fans would fight and die for, if we were on the field, and they need to get that same mentality as they move forward with their Rangers careers. So, nice to hear Ryan talking very positively about the team and about obviously his time at the club. And obviously we do wish Ryan well in Fenerbahce. We wish him all the success in the world. Hopefully he can go on to be a success there. And then we can kind of say that we played a role in him becoming the player that he was, and that's kind of what you want when players leave and move on. Now, obviously, here on Glasgow Rangers Nation, we try and stay across all the news. We'll bring you any updates, if there are any, on the Cyril Dessers deal and the Danilo deal as we move forward with those. And obviously, in a short time, we will also have the fixture release show here on the channel. Or if you're catching this video in the afternoon or the evening, go back and check out the live fixture release show that we did as well. Well, thank you so much for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. Please hit that sub, ring that notification bell, and give this video a like. Guys, apologies if it's not the usual standard, but I am very tired. It is, when I'm recording this video, it's actually 1:18 in the morning. I've just recently finished work. I need you to do one thing for me, though. I need you to do one thing for me. Remember something for me. We are the people.